The last in a long series of plagues that first began in London in June 1499 became known as the Great Plague. It killed between 75,000 and 100,000 of London's expanding populations of about 460,000. In late 1664, London's plague began to spread eastwards. In April 1665, from the suburb of St. Giles through rat-infested alleys of Whitechapel and Stepney's, and then it made its way to the city of London. By September 1665, the death rate had reached 8,000 people per week. Houses containing the dead and dying were no longer locked. London's silence was broken by the noise of carts carrying the dead for burial in churches or communal plague pits such as Finsbury Field in Cripplegate and the open fields in Southwark. Well-off residents soon fled to the countryside, leaving the poor behind. They killed tens of thousands of dogs and cats to get rid of a feared source of contamination, and they burned piles of garbage. To get rid of garbage, they threw it out into the streets. This would include normal household waste as well as human waste. As a result, London was filthy, but this was a perfect breeding place for rats. A popular belief during the plague was that the disease was caused by dogs and cats, which proved not to be true. The plague was caused by a disease-carrying fleas carried on the bodies of rats. A pair of rats in the perfect environment could breed many offspring. The filth found in the streets of London provided the perfect environment for rats. The first victims of the plague were found in the poorer districts of the city. The cramped living conditions these people lived in, and the fact that so many actually lived in those areas of London, made that many people could not avoid contact with either the rats or someone who had the disease. Plague orders first issued by the Privy Council in 1578 were still effective in 1665. These prohibited churches from keeping dead bodies on their premises during public assemblies or services, and carriers of the dead had to identify themselves and could not mix with the public for safety reasons and trying to decrease the spreading of the plague. By February 1666, the Great Plague had nearly finished. It died out during the Great Fire that same year and never returned. Central parts of London were rebuilt with wider streets to relieve crowding and better sewage systems to improve sanitation. London's council issued new plague orders in May 1666, which banned the burial of future plague victims in parish churches and small churchyards, enforced the use of quicklime at designated burial sites, and strictly prohibited opening graves less than 1 year after being buried for safety against the spread of infection. For hundreds of years, children have been singing this nursery rhyme to entertain themselves, without knowing the fact that it was about the Great Plague. The original words "ring-a-ring of roses" stands for the red buboes around the neck of an infected person. A pocket full of posies stands for the people who used to carry flowers in their pockets because they believed it would help them breathe better and protect them from the disease. Ashes Ashes stands not only for the Great Fire in London, but for the diseased people who were stuck in the city at the time of the fire. In the end of the sickness and the end of the fire, they all fell down.